This is Deborah Schneider. This program is the scrapbooking method for planning your book. Welcome. I write under my own name, Deborah Schneider, and as Sybil Stone. And these are my books written as Deborah Schneider, Western romances, and a contemporary. And I also contributed to the author event primer, How to Plan, Execute, and Enjoy Author Events by Chapo Langmack. I write fantasy, gothic, and steampunk romance as Sybil Stone. I work for one of the busiest libraries in the country, well, when we're open, and was named Librarian of the Year by Romance Writers of America a few years ago. Creating a notebook is a fun way to organize your ideas, to plan for your writing. It combines visual learning with planning for your book. There are many ways to organize your writing. I'm just sharing some techniques that work for me and hopefully will work for you and be fun. I like to stock up on the supplies for my notebooks in August when the school supplies are suddenly on the shelves and people are grabbing up binders and inserts and all kinds of things. You don't need to have a huge supply. You can start with just some basic things. Here are the basic supplies you'll need to start your notebook. The 3-ring binder, inserts so that you can divide the binder up into areas, a pen or pencil, scissors, a glue stick, some paper, and access to a 3-ring hole punch. The first part of my notebook is divided into the subject of character. Character is about who is in this story and what happens to them. Who is this person or persons, and why should the reader care about anything that happens to them? So some important things about characters. Characters are heroic, but with flaws. No reader wants to meet the character in the most perfect place, happiest place they've ever been, unless things are going to get really, really bad for them really quickly. They have to have goals. What do they want? Both external and internal goals. And a really important question, why do they want what they want? Are they craving money, fame, security? Whatever it is, you need to know as the writer what your characters want. There needs to be conflict. What prevents them from getting what they want? And remember, sympathetic characters share some common traits. Generally, they are nice people, kind, even if at first they don't seem so. Nobody wants to spend hours and hours with really nasty people. They have a sense of humor, at least about themselves. Doesn't mean they're making jokes all the time, but they do have a sense of humor and can understand when they do things that might be funny. They are smart and somewhat confident, although they may not believe that they are confident. They are skilled because they are in trouble, and things get worse throughout the story. The bigger the obstacle and the stronger the consequences going against what the character wants, the higher the tension. Tension equals conflict. Part of your notebook is going to be creating character files. This is a photo file of people, and a variety of people, not just the beautiful ones, even though, as I write romance, I'm tempted to keep a lot of images of really good-looking men. I confess it's my thing. I like to write a sentence or paragraph of description about the characters as I put them in my file for my book. I think names are very important. I use online databases and baby books to find the meaning of names, and I like to use names that are a little bit different, just depending on the story. You can create names from family members, from people you've known, from people you admire, but you can also just go online and find lists of names for boys and names for girls as a baby book sort of thing. As I'm creating these characters, I collect images that help me to round out their personalities. Remember Bree from Confessions of a Naughty Librarian? Well, she has blue hair. She has a certain style sense, so I collect images of clothes that she might wear. She has a certain look. Oh, and maybe she's influenced by that bookmobile bad girl. Okay, well, she's naughty. She's just not that naughty. So again, this is a collection of images that inspire you to create characters. Where do you find images? Well, if you think about it, images are all around us. You can search online using good old Google or any other online search engine. You can use magazines. And because I work for the library, I'm going to do a commercial. RB Digital and Flipster are magazines online available free from libraries. I have to confess, I am a Pinterest addict. I love Pinterest so much that I use it as a reward for writing. I'll write for 2 hours and then I get 1 hour on Pinterest, just finding images, finding recipes, and having fun. If you haven't checked out Pinterest, yeah, even guys can use Pinterest for research. I suggest you take a visit and look at some of the boards. TV and movies can provide inspiration for your characters. I was searching for a Native American character, happened to be watching a television show that featured a beautiful Native American woman, found out who she was. She's my model for my character in my book. And don't be afraid to use famous people as character inspiration. You're not really going to be using these images publicly, but when you collect these images and you work with a cover artist who will ask you about describing your main characters, it's very easy to make an inspiration board and send it to them, and they can see very quickly what you were thinking as you created these characters. I also like to create mind maps around my characters. You might be asking, well, what's a mind map? It's a tool that grabs ideas and concepts from your brain and creates a visual method to organize the information. Okay, like it's not a giant scoop that pulls ideas out of your brain and sets them anywhere. It's actually brainstorming, pulling ideas from your brain and creating a simple format to organize the information. The first thing I put on my mind map is the title of the book. You don't necessarily need to do this. You could put a number, you could put a name of one of your main characters. I just need to have a title for my book right at the beginning. It's all very individual. If you don't need that, you shouldn't even try to mess with it. I knew that this was Bachelor Bay number 2, which is the second book in the series I'm writing. And I start out with putting one of my characters on the left and one on the right. Because I write romance, it's going to be the heroine and the hero. And I'm very quickly going to use the mind map to get some really simple, easy things down about their characters. So what do I know about Bree? Well, she's a librarian and she has blue hair. And I just go through for each of my 2 characters, and if you have more characters, you can expand your mind map and just get some ideas about them down in a format that's quick, easy, and fun. Looking at my heroine, Bree, these are some of the quick things I know about her. I know her age, I know that she has blue hair, I know what her job is. I came up with an external goal, and I also have an internal goal. This might not be the time when you know those things, but you can always change this. So whatever you can get down, including a story question, maybe a quote like I have from Marilyn Monroe. I have her friends called the Mermaid Posse. Just, you're going to run through very quickly and take your ideas from the brainstorming to a mind map format. You do the same thing for your other character, in this case my hero, Nathan. Write down very quickly the things that you know. I knew his age, I knew what he looked like, and I knew that he had a nickname, cute, scruffy dude. This is, again, building from your imagination. So you can work on this as ideas come to you and just quickly put them down on your mind map. You're not going to write out long details about these at this point. You can put in setting, you can put in some ideas about your hero or heroine's family. Again, quick, fast, fun. Now, I want to assure you, all of my mind maps are not as neat and tidy as the one that I just showed you. They're pretty messy. This is the mind map from the first book in the series, Domestic Goddess. As you can see, there are things crossed out, written over, changed. It was a way to put ideas down on paper. It's not set in stone. You can change anything. You can go right back and create another mind map if you get better ideas, different ideas. In the case of this book, I had a really hard time coming up with the ages for my heroine Bailey and my hero Max. I just struggled with it, and I kept crossing it out and then going back and changing it. That's okay. You're not going to really share this with anyone but yourself. This is the creativity part. And again, what is that word? Fun. Have fun with this. This is one of the things that my critique partner picks on me about, but I still enjoy doing it. Once upon a time, I studied child psychology, and in one of the workshops I attended, the presenter talked about the personal t-shirt. Not a t-shirt with your favorite sports team or band on it, but a t-shirt that would express to the world how you felt, what you needed, what maybe your inner turmoil is, or your internal goal and need. And so I create these for my main characters. The t-shirt that you would see for Nathan says, "Can I trust you?" Well, obviously, Nathan has trust issues. And I'll go into the backstory and figure out why that is. But for my mind map, I just slap a t-shirt on there, and I do one for the hero, for the heroine, and for the protagonist, adversary, villain, the, quote, bad guy, because bad guys have needs too. Bad guys don't do things in a vacuum. They have an internal goal, and they have an external goal. And I think it contributes to the quality of the writing to be able to express that. So when you're just creating the idea of that character, you can give them a t-shirt. Okay, you don't have to do this, but I think it's just kind of fun to do, and it makes you think a little deeper about your character. As I was putting this workshop together, I started to think about other ways you could express character visually, and I came up with the idea of tattoos. After all, tattoos are very personal. Someone is giving you a message about their life, about their belief system, about what is important to them. So a tattoo would be a way to do a t-shirt in a different way, expressing to the world what your character is about and telegraphing it in a visual way. I've also used collage to play with my art materials and to kind of generate ideas about my characters. I don't do it as much anymore because, hey, I have Pinterest, and as I said, I'm addicted. So I really create these kinds of boards and inspiration boards on Pinterest and print them out and put them in my notebook. But if you want to have more fun with glue sticks and scissors, this is an option. Also, I create story idea notebooks. I have collages and descriptions and ideas for stories that I haven't written. Of course, you know that right when you're in the middle of a book, as writing a book, that you're going to come up with fabulous ideas for books that you're not writing right now. That just happens. So you can create a collage, you can put together images, you can put it in a story idea notebook, and then you can come back to it during one of those times when you're thinking, hey, what am I going to write next? Well, you've already thought about it, You've already generated some ideas, so go to your story notebook. Let's move on to the next section of your notebook, setting. Setting is the where of your story. Where do your characters live? What time period is your setting? Are you writing a contemporary book or a historical book? What's the physical space like? Both the large space and the smaller spaces. Is it urban, suburban, or rural? Where your characters live contributes to characterization and plot, so you really do want to think about the where. You can use the setting to show contrast between your two main characters. If you look to the left, we have Nathan's house, a pretty fancy place. Remember, he's rich. And you can tell that he enjoys his large spaces. He has a lot of creature comforts. You know, somewhere upstairs in this house, there's a great game room, and you get a sense that Nathan is all about the outdoors. Hey, and check out that bathroom. And then you compare it to Bree. Well, Bree has a few more limited resources, so she's actually living in a cottage on her parents' farm. She has a very unique decorating style. She obviously loves books because, hey, she's a librarian, so she has a wonderful book space. And she has an individual style of decorating that Nathan calls fluffy. An important question that you need to ask yourself is, why does the story need to take place here? Does the setting contribute to the story? Is it a character? And by that, I'm thinking of books like horror books or gothic books where the creepy old house or the deep dark woods is a character. It contributes not only as a setting, but as a way of identifying that it's a very scary story and the world is not safe around this particular character or characters. So how does the setting influence the story? Where do you find resources for creating your setting? An obvious place is searching maps, Googling maps. You can Google historical maps if you're writing a historical book. You can look at any place around the world and do a Google map. You can use Pinterest again. Hey, I love Pinterest. If you're interested in a map, it's very likely that somebody else was interested in that place too. I like the video tours that Rick Steves offers, because if you're writing about a particular place, he goes in depth, he goes into museums. Right now you can't go there, but Rick Steves can take you there. Of course, print materials, books and magazines, and because we're talking about the library, there are free resources from your local library. It's listed under databases. Things like Access Video, which will give you travel videos. Canopy has films, and you can watch a film in a setting and get a great idea about what it looks like. And also, if you're researching historical settings, there are databases that provide information about the specific things that happened, and also about the daily life of people in a certain time period. Don't be afraid to ask a librarian, or call or email a librarian, since right now librarians aren't actually in the libraries. But you can contact a librarian and they will help guide you on your research. It's what they're trained for and they love it. So don't ever be afraid to make a call or send an email to your library to ask for research help. I always recommend traveling to a place if you can. It just makes the setting so much more real when you can go there. You can meet people from the place, you can go to museums, you can see the lay of the land. It's so much fun to be able to actually be in the place that you're imagining that your characters are going to walk around and live in. But hey, we're limited right now. COVID has hit, so you might not be able to travel there. but you can imagine traveling there. And once this whole thing is over, you can make these trips to areas that you want to write about. The final section for your notebook is plot. Plot is what happens to the characters in the setting. I have some tricks for plotting that I put as pages in my notebook. So one thing I like to do is figure out my word count. Kind of how many pages am I going to want in this book? It varies by type of book and my story ideas, but then I can break it down into chapters. And when I've broken it down, I can write some central story or story parts in headlines. It can be beginning, middle, end, as easy as that. And sometimes I use colors for internal and external motivation, for conflict, and romantic elements if you're writing a story with romance or a relationship. I always write romance so far, and so I always have that kind of relationship in my book, and that's a focus. The idea of a romance is if you take out the relationship, the book will not hold together. So not every book is a romance. Some just have relationships, friends. It can be a whole variety of different types of relationships. But it's fun to get that out as much as you can at the beginning before you're writing. Or if that's even too organized for you, write down 20 things that could happen. Yeah, just write 1 to 20 and write a sentence or just a phrase, something that will tell you what you think would happen in this book. Or you can get more complicated and use a scene and sequel format. Just get out a piece of paper and write scenes, sequel, scene, sequel for the parts of your book. And again, you can be as simple as beginning, middle, end. The point of this is not to complicate things. The point is to simplify things, but get it out of your head and onto the paper and into your notebook. There are online programs and other programs for organizing your story ideas. Since I work and write at the computer every day, I like to use this method for generating ideas because it harnesses creative energy. It's not sitting at the computer, it's not at the keyboard, it's using simple art supplies, but I think it energizes me for going back to the computer and taking these organized ideas and creating my writing. But you have to use what works for you. Keep adding to the notebook as you work on an outline or as you write. It's again a great way to store ideas as they occur to you. And good luck! I can't wait to read your book. Here are the addresses for my two websites, debschneider.com, sibylstone.com, and a link to my Pinterest page. Go there if you dare. Hey, I admit it, I'm an addict. I have lots of boards. I do have lots of fun with it.